What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first installment of the Call Third podcast right here, exclusively on Mini Mike's Network, brand new podcast network. I'm working out with my guy, Jared Payton, Payton Sports Network. We had to botch that for a little while. We'll be getting back to you on some other things. So this is our baseball version on Mini Mike's Network. We got a lot of other shows coming up. I'll be introducing those hosts and co-hosts to you. We're going to talk about the White Sox, the Cubs, some interesting topics. I also want to get into, in every era, I had a great talk with my dad today, who's a Chicago baseball historian and pretty much schooled me to everything when I was a youngster. And he gave me some background on Dick Allen today, some stuff I didn't know about that made me want to bring up a topic of every era since African Americans have been allowed into Major League Baseball. You can literally debate that every era of baseball since that time has had an African American or a player of color as the best player in that era. You can arguably say that, and I want to talk about it based upon the fact that Mookie, in my opinion right now, is the best player in Major League Baseball with 2 World Series championships. We can get into that. We can talk about it. But let's start off with the first pitch. MLB came off its shortened season, a truncated season, and ended up, in my opinion, guys, with a great World Series. My guest this evening, Scott Lewis from Barber Chair Network. Barber Chair Scott, you can follow him on Twitter. My guy, Gino at Stay Humble, Eugene McIntosh from the Bigs, and his cohort, the other half of the Bigs, Terrence Tomlin. Tomlin does it on Twitter. Go follow everybody right now. So, guys, when we talk about this truncated season, 60 games in the regular season, bubble in the playoffs, was it a success? And do you think the World Series entertained folks enough? Forget the ratings, because we knew the ratings would drop off just because of the pandemic and everything that was going on. But overall, was MLB successful putting on the season in the World Series?
I think they were as successful as they possibly could be. I mean, dealing with the circumstances that they had to deal with, especially with the big outbreak they had at the beginning with the Marlins and the Cardinals and everything like that. I thought in general it was a little weird. Just not just baseball, but like I feel like sports in general since the pandemic started, like the no crowd thing really bothers me to the point where like I'm into it, but I'm not all the way into it. So I feel like the World Series was a really good series, and but I just keep thinking like what would have Dodger Stadium been like when the Dodgers won the World Series in there. Like I know it was crazy out here, just people were still partying like it didn't, like what nothing going on. People still letting cars on fire and everything like that. So the celebration didn't change anything, but I feel like it was some good baseball being played. I feel like the playoffs were as good as it possibly could be. So, and they had a little outbreak at the end with Justin Turner, which what's my man Manfred can thank the NFL for nobody thinking about that anymore. So I think I'll give it probably like a B minus overall for how it went.
All right, Gino, go ahead, T.
Oh no, I was just gonna piggyback on what Scott was saying. As soon as I think of the word success, I'm like, hold on. It was a mug with COVID, out spreading it, celebrating the World Series championship. So it's hard to say that it was a success, man. But I think that if they were trying to, entertain and recoup any dollars that they possibly could, yeah, you can call that a success. Especially from a White Sox standpoint, when you look at a team that was looking to take some steps forward, and they were still able to do that even in a 60-game season. You saw the pitching staff take some steps forward with Lucas Giolito getting some real good playoff experience. Jose Abreu went on to snatch the MVP award. So I think that in terms of were you able to get a progressive season out of 60 games, the answer is yes, for sure.
Man, I think same with those guys, man. I think if you're looking at MLB standards, I think it was a progressive season. I still think Rob Manfred is an idiot. But at the same time, as far as the 60-game season, I'm pretty sure those guys would have loved to play 162 because we know as baseball guys that the season really doesn't start until probably a little bit after the halfway mark. So
exactly,
you can kind of take some of those things, depending on how you want to look at them, they could be premature and not. Just piggybacking off what T was saying with the White Sox, they had a pretty successful season, but I would have loved to see them go the whole 162 and see how it would have played out there. But yeah, I think it was progressive for the most part. I'm just glad we got through a whole season because, to be honest, I thought they would have shut that thing down midway through. And as far as Justin Turner is concerned, with that whole little celebration thing, this is America, bro.
Facts. Facts. So, man, let's talk about some of the postseason awards. Of course, our big guy over on the South Side ended up with the MVP, rightfully so. And I would say the series that pretty much stamped him, in my opinion, is when they walked into Wrigley Field and what he did those 3 games. And even the face, you remember Gino, like that first inning of matchup on Sunday, the Cubs won that Sunday game, but Darvish was going in that first at bat, he threw a slider down and away. And when Jose hit it out, Darvish had a look on his face like, yo, hey,
right.
Ain't nothing I can do. It's like, there's no way he should hit that out.
Right.
I think from that point on, man, he just took off and he was on an RBI tear. And if you remember early in the season, he was slumping. He left so many people on base early in the season. He could have had a crazy season stat-wise, but just an incredible season for Jose Abreu leading that young Sox team to the playoffs. Freeman in the National League, man. This dude is just so sweet and so consistent over at first base. To me, he's like the corner counterpart of what Nolan Arenado is at third in the National League. Like offensively, defensively, just total complete package, just smooth. And for both of those, I think they both are deserving. Is there anybody else? I know Mookie came in second for the National League MVP. Is there anybody else that you really thought had a chance to supplant either one of those guys in that race?
Well, I thought that they were probably. I was worried about them screwing Jose over for Jose Ramirez because it's a little hot 2 weeks he had.
Yeah.
So I thought they was gonna get that confused. But besides that, I mean, I wouldn't have been mad if they would have gave it to Mookie in the National League. I kind of feel like he changed the Dodgers. Kind of like not to say he brought a winning attitude. Because they've always been they've been in the conversation for 8 years now, but they've never actually gotten over that hump of winning a World Series. It's like he actually took them over that hump. So I wouldn't have been mad at that. And like you said, I agree. I think he's the best player in baseball. So, but Freddie Freeman, when he did, man, them numbers was crazy. The Braves had an incredible season. They actually went further than I expected them to go. They jagged that series against the Dodgers at the end, but they're still a very young team, and the Dodgers got a lot of vets on there, and I just felt like they were like, yo, we can't lose this after how many years we didn't got here and we didn't blew it. So, but I'm not mad at it how it came out. So I think both were pretty accepting of them winning it.
Yeah, man, I think that before the season, if you would have said that those 2 guys were the MVPs, I'm not sure if I would have believed you. You know what I mean? But I feel like they both, especially Jose Abreu, his story was undeniable. You know what I mean? You saw the way he reacted after getting an MVP. But like you said, man, you're talking about a cat that started slow, but then completely put the team on his back, series after series. Even and I know it didn't count, in terms of voting, but even into the playoffs, he was able to carry it throughout the, most of the season. And like you said, Scott, Freddie Freeman over there in Atlanta just was killing all season. So it was one of those years where I feel like it was 2 easy picks for MVP.
Yeah, same here, man. I'm not surprised. It would have been a Travis Shamackery had anyone else taken, either of those awards. I felt like Jose Abreu was more than deserving. Freddie Freeman is probably a product of the Atlanta Braves being back on the map, even though, like they said, the awards are voted on before the playoffs start. So, I mean, Freddie Freeman has been a beast for a long time, but I think once you put yourself amongst the top leaders as far as getting your team to the promised land and to the playoffs, then that's when people really, get a chance to take you a little more serious. And, Ronald Acuna and Albies and those other guys that got his back, is giving Atlanta, I wouldn't say more national TV time, but, it's giving them some exciting players to look out for. And I think that helped Freddie Freeman as well.
So we go over to Cy Young. We had Bauer and Bieber winning those awards. Bauer pretty much shut down. I think Jacob deGrom was trying to become the second pitcher to win the Cy Young 4 straight years. The other guy to do it was Randy Johnson, the big unit.
Yeah.
So he stopped that streak. And honestly, having a good first half, right? Going into the All-Star break. If you stretch it out to 162, deGrom probably over the 162 ends up coming back because I think he plays third. But I agree with both of those. I think Bieber was dominant, even though the White Sox got to him a little bit in that last game in Cleveland when they played, I think, a week out before the end of the regular season. And that cat Devin Williams, yo.
Yeah.
What that young kid did for the Brewers to come up and step up for that bullpen was absolutely phenomenal. It was a dope look. And then I want to get you guys thought. Scott, you were adamant that it shouldn't have been a unanimous Rookie of the Year vote in the American League. You felt like Louis still should have gotten the first place vote. But he did stretch.
I mean, he had a bad month and a half, but Kyle Lewis had a bad month too. they both pretty much sucked down the stretch. And I wasn't mad at Luis not winning it, but unanimous is asinine. Like there's no way you watch both of them play. And granted, I didn't watch too many Mariners games because I value my time and I'm not gonna take 3 hours to watch Seattle Mariners. But
I know, right? Come on.
Yeah, I feel like at least Luis should have got a couple votes. That's my only beef. But I never have a problem him actually winning it. And any black player winning any awards, I'm down with. But I feel like my man Luis should got a little bit more love.
Man, I've never seen anybody in a span of like 3 weeks go from he probably at the time right before he started the slump. It's fair to say that Louis Robert was probably the unanimous.
Yeah, he had it.
Yeah,
they just started sending breaking balls at him. He's swinging everything. It's like he never adjusted to it. It's like he's like the most frustrating player to watch on the White Sox because he's so damn talented. And granted, he's young, he'll get better. Moncada swung at everything his rookie year, so he'll get better. But I would be screaming at my TV, be patient, right? Like you ain't gotta I've never played baseball like past a high school level in my entire life. But even I know, don't swing at that. Like what are you doing? So that was probably he just went off the cliff. So that's pretty much. But he had it until like the last month.
Yeah, I agree, man. I feel like as far as the vote goes, you could have gave our boy your first place vote off of what he does on defense alone. Like the man just covers so much space and was
Glover already.
Oh, come on. He was basically playing 2 positions, if Eloy was out there. So, like you said, Scott, I'm not mad anytime a brother can get, some hardware. And I didn't get a bunch of chances to see Kyle Lewis anyway. So I may be, kind of biased. But, I think when you look at the futures of both of those guys, man, you got to be happy to have one of those cats. So would it have been cool if Luis got a vote? Cool. But man, the future's so bright, it's like whatever,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel y'all on the Luis Robert. Didn't he win the Gold Glove?
Yeah.
So they made up for it, man. They made up for it. Personally, I saw as far as Kyle Lewis and Luis Robert are concerned, I feel like Kyle Lewis, he showed like limitless potential in the games because I watched Seattle a lot this year, just trying to see Carl Edwards Jr. get a relief appearance. So I got a chance to watch Kyle Lewis. And I mean, he was among I think he might have even been tied or he led all rookies in home runs with 11. And they could play him all over the field. So I think that's what led to his I guess, taking it of AL Rookie of the Year. As far as NL Rookie of the Year with Devin Williams taking it, he had a spectacular season. I didn't get a chance to see him pitch against the Cubs this year, but I actually had a vote for NL Rookie of the Year this year, and I actually picked. I voted for Alec Baum for the Phillies, the third baseman. Yeah, he was. I mean, no disrespect to Williams, but I feel like a guy that can come in and man third base. I think he hit like 338. He was leading in doubles. I think he was third in the league in average with runners in scoring position. So I just felt like he did a lot for a Philadelphia Phillies team who was, they were iffy. They were on the brink of playoffs and not. But I think he showed that he could be not necessarily a Nolan Arenado type, but he could definitely be a great third baseman for the next 10 to 12 years in Philly.
Man, absolutely. We go ahead. Kevin Cash and Don Mattingly were the winners of the Manager of the Years, respectively, in the American League and National League. Scott, you touched on it when you were talking of your opening statement, man. Look, what Don Mattingly was able to do with that Marlins team, especially the way the season started off, the way COVID-19 ran through their players and ran through their locker room to get them back on track.
Yeah,
to really compete for a playoff spot the majority of the year down to the last game of the season. And then I think David Ross, the job he did, that was a lot of expectations and uncertainty, Gino, when you talk about the Cubs, because no one knew. We know now what Theo ended up doing, but going into the season, we didn't know what Theo's mindset was.
Right.
The ownership looks like they didn't want to spend. They weren't going to spend.
I ain't no look like.
Right. The pandemic hits, and it's like, man, David Ross has a team that is expected to win the division,
right,
and to be contenders for the World Series. And he's coming on the heels of a guy that brought a world championship from a managerial position, and Joe Madden going out to the Angels. You have to fill his shoes. That was a lot of pressure, but I thought David Ross showed himself quite well in his first season.
Yeah, I think Ross did pretty good, especially for somebody who's never, managed before. He really just came out the booth, being with ESPN for that little time. Mattingly, you gotta give him a good job, and Kevin Cash, man, they did good. This is my beef with the Rays though, and this is my beef with the Rays the entire season. I get tired of the small market. Oh, they did it the right way, BS. Like, I don't want to praise owners not spending money. Like, especially as a White Sox fan, and it irritates the hell out of me. So I didn't. That's besides the fact that I wanted the Dodgers to win, just so everybody, all my LA friends can shut up and and stop complaining for once. So, I just wanted to win because I didn't want to hear that they did the right way. Look at the narrative. You can win a championship without spending money. So I was kind of anti-Rays majority of the year. But Kevin Cash as a manager, I think was awesome. Obviously, playoffs didn't have anything to factor with it. I think taking Blake Snell out, one of the most asinine decisions of the year. Maybe I'm just old school. I really don't care what analytics say. If your horse is pitching and the season's on the line, I'm riding with him till the wheels fall off. Because at least it's kind of like the LeBron passing narrative. I'm not going to lose sleep if LeBron misses a shot. I'm going to lose sleep thinking that Danny Green missed a shot when I could have just gave it to LeBron. So I'm going to lose sleep if my bullpen blows it instead of riding with my horse. So I kind of feel like that was something that, maybe, just ruined, soured me on him. But he did a good job for pretty much majority of the season. I think he was deserving.
No, I agree 100%, man. When it comes to the Rays, it took me a while to even really pay them full attention.
Right, I mean, in first place, right?
Exactly. They made me have to Google. I'm like, who the hell is on the Rays?
Right.
so that but I feel like it's always a team that kind of explodes onto the scene like that. But when it comes to David Ross, I agree as well, man. I thought that for his first season, he had a lot of things that could have worked against him. And even during the season, the man, go down the Cubs roster, and their best players all had probably their worst season since they've been in the majors, and they still, stayed at the top of that division. I think that goes, I think it says a lot about who David Ross is as a manager. He's not just their friend. You know what I mean? Like, they respond to this man. And I think that the Cubs found themselves another good manager after losing, probably their best manager of all time.
Man, as far as the Marlins and the Rays and the Marlins, I couldn't tell you at the beginning of the season. I couldn't tell you who was on either one of them rosters. So just the fact of them guys making it to the offices, manager of the year worthy for me. Don Mattingly was one of my favorite guys coming up in the 80s and early 90s. So
Thanks.
I appreciate having that old school mentality. Too bad we didn't get a chance to chop it up with him, but I would have loved to do that. But yeah, those guys were deserving. And as far as David Ross, I don't know, T, man. He was cool. But I felt like the cards were, the cards were already there. He just shuffled the deck a little bit. And I felt like he had a moment when that Javi play early on in the season when Javi hit that ball down the line and didn't hustle out of the box. And luckily it didn't end up costing them. But that was the time when, you kind of set your foot down and you set the tone right there. But he kind of just let it slide. He made some remarks about it. But then later on in the season, somebody else did something like that. And then he wanted to put his foot down. And I felt like that was kind of huff. But, I mean, I like Rossi. I like Rossi. I think the past relationships, John Lester, all the guys that were on that World Series team, I think they looked at him like a father figure. Riz and KB always talked about that. And I think that boded well for those guys this year. I think the pandemic and everything that happened was the main reason why, like T said, those guys probably had their worst seasons. Rizzo, Javi, KB, Schwartz, all of those guys, they all had horrible seasons. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I'm definitely looking for Rossi to come back with a kind of a renewed energy and a different kind of outlook, especially since Theo ain't there and Jed is going to implement, what he wants to do going forward. So I'm just interested to see that dynamic and how it plays out.
So let's go ahead and turn two, man. Let's move on from that, but let's stick with the Cubs. You talk about that, Gino. Let's lead off with you. You cover the team. You've been in that locker room before the World Series, leading up to the World Series, and then the decline after the World Series, the slow decline. Even though they're right at the front and contending for that division all the time,
right.
I think it's safe to say that what kind of contributed to that was I don't think we knew St. Louis would be there. I don't think people really saw Milwaukee coming. And I think when they got Lorenzo Cain, that kind of bumped them up a whole nother level. They had Hader, but then they got some really good starting pitching that was a little bit better than most people anticipated.
Yeah.
And they caught the Cubs off guard as they were kind of declining. That added to it. But I want to ask you this question. Are they rebuilding? Theo step away. We've seen them non-tender Schwarber, Albert Amore. They tender Chris Bryant, but a lot of people seem to believe that he's going to be moved and won't be on the opening day roster. So are we looking at a rebuild, or is this organization still trying to find a way to patch things and still contend and get to the World Series in the next couple of years?
Man, I wouldn't necessarily call it a rebuild. I would say more of a retool. But, I mean, they still got the talent, man. When you talk about the NL Central, like you said, Milwaukee, they came out like gangbusters a couple years ago. Caught up not just the Cubs, but the NL Central in general. But I think they've kind of come back down to reality. And when you look at the NL Central as a whole, I mean, nobody's scared of the Pirates. The Cardinals are just the Cardinals. They are who they are.
Yeah.
The Royals are who they are. I think the Reds kind of surprised some people last year, but nobody's scared of the Reds. So I think as long as you come back with these, not the same guys, because like you said, they non-tendered Schwartz, non-tendered Almora. KB got the contract. Who's to say if he's coming back or not? I would love to see KB back just for redemption purposes. He's a rookie.
Gino, do you think KB regrets not getting that $200 million when they offered it to him?
But you got to think about this. KB said, when did he ever turn down $200 million? And I think I mean, you gotta realize who his agent is, man. The money monster himself.
Scott
Of
Boras.
course.
Yeah, so 200 mil ain't nothing. So even if he did get that offer, of course he was gonna turn that down.
Yep.
But again, that's why I want to see him be able to come back and show the guy who he really is, the NL MVP, the former Rookie of the Year. Like we said, you never know what goes on in these guys' personal lives. Personally, I love KB. I mean, he's a soft-spoken guy. I know a lot of people could take that either way, could call him soft or whatever, but he's far from soft. And when he's at his peak, me and Terrence talked about it a lot, man. And I think one of the main things that played into his downfall, which has been the past couple of years, is the time when we were out in Colorado covering the team the year he got hit in the face. And if you look at his stats, righties versus lefties, his stats are just totally down all the way. And then even if you delve deeper into Chris Bryant, if you look at his batting stance, he's further away from the plate, he's deeper in the box. It's just a lot of things that I noticed about him that were much different than the old Chris Bryant. So, I mean, that could play a factor. You know, me and T always say, man, we're not making no excuses for no grown men who get paid top dollar. But back to the original thing, I don't think it's a rebuild. I think it's a retool. You know, Ricketts spent a few dollars, like we know. They turned Wrigleyville into Rickettsville. So he's trying to recoup his bread, man. You saw the Cubs had the most cuts, front office cuts in Major League Baseball. I think there was the same thing with Kyle Schwarber. They wasn't trying to pay a guy $8, $9, $10 million to be Huff in the outfield and Huff at the plate. So hopefully they can put that bread to use, bring in a couple, maybe another arm to kind of shore up the starting pitching rotation, and bring in a bat. You know, I would love to see DJ LeMahieu or somebody like that, a vet who can kind of fill that Ben Zobrist type of role, come in and just be that guy you can count on. And I ain't worried about Javi, Riz, KB, Jay Hay, all them guys, Willie Contreras, all those guys, they'll be back ready to ball, man. So I'm looking forward to it.
You see, I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott. I'll go after you.
So putting my objective baseball fan glasses on. Glasses off. I will say that I feel like a lot of the down numbers we saw from the Cubs are more of a result of the 60-game season and how you kind of got to look at the stats with like not too much emphasis. And I say the same thing with the White Sox too, because I want to see them with a full 162 before I get crazy. But I don't believe Javi is a guy who's batting 170 or some shit like that. No. I don't believe Rizzo's that bad. I don't believe, Contreras, as much as he be wolfing, that he's that bad. I think that these are guys where they just really couldn't get into a rhythm. And I think Gino said it earlier too, the season don't really get started to the 60, 70 game mark. In a regular season, I don't even look at the standings till July. So I feel like they'll get better. Now I feel like it really kind of depends on what Jed Hoyer's vision is going to be. Now that it's his team. And I'm glad that they gave him the helms of, because I feel like he deserved it. I feel like he's one of the most deserving guys in baseball. He's been Theo's right-hand man, not just in Chicago, but also in Boston. So I feel like it's his time. I don't think he wants to start his reign as a complete, rebuild. And I don't think it's going to be a rebuild. We're back to the Corey Patterson days and stuff like that. I think it's going to be more of a, like Gino said, a retool when you keep some of the guys. I do not think Chris Bryant was on the roster. I do think that he's going to go. I think it's kind of like the Frankie Lindor situation, where it's just a matter of time to their being gone. So I do think they'll be gone. I think they'll probably build around Javi, keep Rizzo, probably keep Contreras, and plug in there. And Ricketts is a guy where I feel like more he's kind of like, he's at the part where he's like, okay, we won the championship. I'm finna get my money back. So that's why I think why he's been a little cheap with it. Because the Cubs have zero reason to be calling poor. That's like when Brian Cashman be talking about the Yankees ain't got no money. Like, get out of my face. Like, what are you talking about? You're the Yankees. So I do think there's an opportunity for them, and they're in a terrible division. They're in a terrible division. So I don't see the point of tearing it all down. Even if they did tear it down, they'd probably compete for the title anyway by default. So if I were them, I would just get rid of a couple pieces, see what you can get, rebuild that farm system, which is something I feel like they really, really need to do, and rebuild it with pitching. You know what I'm saying? Get somebody to come in and replace Lester. Come in there to, add to what you got with Hendricks, who's probably my my only non-White Sox favorite pitch. I love watching Kyle Hendricks pitch, and be with you Darvish and try to retool from there. Because to me, there's no reason to just completely tear it down. To me, you just be doing that to be doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I feel like I'm going to be standing kind of alone on this one, man, because is it a rebuild right now? No, but could it be next year? I feel like that's still up in the air, man. You know, since 2016, the Cubs have taken a step in the wrong direction every single year. You know what I mean? And although you look at that roster on paper and you say, oh, this guy shouldn't be playing like this. This guy shouldn't be playing like this. The fact of the matter is they've been, these guys been slumping for a couple of years at this point. And Javi, like you guys said, Javi is somebody I'm willing to bet turns it around. But Chris Bryant at this point, I'm like, okay, now is this the new Chris Bryant? And I'm one of the guys that have been, I've been more in favor of giving him chances and, saying that his injury and that he needs to get his mind right. He just, like Gene said, he just doesn't look like that guy right now, though. And Rizzo, maybe he's, maybe he's better than he is, but is he a guy that you want to build your team around? I feel like those questions are still out there. So even though it's not a rebuild right now, I'm looking at how can they get better. I'm looking at that farm system like it's been depleted. How do you build from within if it's nothing within? So sooner or later, the options are going to be, hey, we're going to have to trade Wilson Contreras. Like, we're going to have to get rid of Chris Bryant, and that's a slippery slope. And so right now, I still feel like these guys may be closer to their next rebuild than their next championship. This offseason is huge. We'll see.
And I also got a comment too, real quick, Shaun, to piggyback off what Terrence is saying. I think they kind of got to look at the landscape of the NL too. Like, how do you think? Like, can you really compete? Like, the Dodgers are the champions, and they ain't going nowhere. They might actually get Lindor, and the Padres are the team that's coming up next. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, are the Cubs willing to spend money to stay in that conversation? I believe those are the two teams that's going to be running the National League for the foreseeable future.
Right. It's been rumored to get Lindor, but what Seager did in the playoffs, that might not happen. But then we talked about this, Scott. The rumor came out, I think it was John Heyman saying that they might be targeting Arenado because Justin Turner's a free agent. And I said, dude, Manfred has to step in. Like, they getting over Arenado. Like, they got to pull the same thing they pulled with Chris Paul going to the Lakers. Like,
and we're forgetting David Price is coming back next year.
Right.
So that's another arm for them.
Out. Like,
that's the NL All-Star team over there, okay?
Yeah,
crazy, and you can't hate, right? Because they've been able to develop pitching going back to Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, all the way to Fernando Valenzuela, then to Orr Hershiser, then they get Kershaw, and now they got Walker Buehler. It's like, so they do it the right way from drafting and development. And then they draft well the position players. You got Seager, you got Bellinger.
They're not gonna be worried about spending money either, because you gotta look at it. They want to recoup this championship money, since wasn't nobody able to come to Dodger Stadium this year. And I keep telling people, like, yeah, people love the Lakers. Lakers won a championship, people went crazy. But the Dodgers, I don't think people understand. Like, the Dodgers are, if the Lakers are the king, but the Dodgers are like right up there with them. Like, this is a Laker Dodger town. I didn't even know that until I moved here. They're like in the same bracket. So these fans, to me, I heard more gunshots outside when the Dodgers won than when the Lakers won. So they're gonna want to keep, putting a good feel on the team. And so when the pandemic calms down, Dodger Stadium they can get more money. So I think that's gonna be something that Magic and them ain't gonna have no problem of keep cutting checks.
Yeah. I think Gino and T can speak to that buzz, because you guys went out there when the Cubs were facing off against the Dodgers when they won the World Series. And the games at Chavez Ravine were like hotly contested. That series was hotly contested.
Let me tell you. About to say that it was about 3 fights every games.
Yeah, Dodger fans love to fight.
Trying to tell you, it's definitely serious out there, Scott.
Yeah, I definitely think the Dodgers got the Lakers faded. If not, and not by much. CEO, you've been out there long enough to know. So, but I would
say Dodger fans are more knowledgeable about the game. If you want to hear terrible basketball conversation, sit in Staples Center. Sit in Staples Center for a couple games. You want to blow your head out. It's terrible.
So, Gino, since we talked about the slow demise, I don't want to say demise, but, coming from the championship and each and every year, Milwaukee coming up, and you just see a slow decline. Can you bookmark? Is there like a move that was made by the front office or a player that was taken away from the roster? Is there something you can bookmark that you can point to say, that's the moment that I saw that everything was different?
Well, not necessarily a specific moment, but just Theo, Theo just having too much faith in his guys, man. Having faith in those young guys that reach the mountaintop at such a young age. When we talk about a guy like Addison Russell, who's no longer a part of the organization, Kyle Schwarber, who's no longer part of the organization, Albert Almora Jr., guys who just never reached the potential that I don't even think we have for him. I think it was a Theo thing. I think Theo really, really believed in his guys, especially Kyle Schwarber. Like, he was Theo's number one guy. And I felt like Jed shows you what time it was. Like, as soon as Theo went out the door, hey, Kyle, we love you. You're a Cubs legend forever. What you did, we'll never forget you. If you want to come back for less bread, come on, right. Let's talk about it.
Right.
But I feel like that, and just the letting Joe go. I feel like letting Joe go was a clear indication of where this team was headed, because I feel like Joe Madden was the glue to everything that was going on. He wasn't a yes man. There was a lot of talk, but we know behind the scenes, me and T know that, the Cubs kind of wanted a yes man. Joe was doing things his way. His track record speaks for itself. All of the guys love Joe. They love the fact that he let them police themselves. I don't think any of that had to do with the play on the field. I just think, hey, it's baseball, man. And when you reach that mountaintop at 22 years old, 23 years old, me and T talk about it. It's baseball, man. You're not guaranteed to come right back and do it again because you have talent. So just a couple of those things. Those are the couple things that really stood out in my mind. But when Theo changed after 2018, when he came back with that same team from 17 to 18, when he brought him back for 19, nah, man, it's over with.
I'm gonna throw something at you because I feel like things started to change in Game 7 of the World Series. You know what I mean? With some of those decisions that Joe Madden made with the pitching staff, man, I feel like part of the craziness out of that situation was not only the fans, but management may have felt like they won that game in spite of Joe Madden. You know what I mean? And then when you look at remember that slow start from 2017, and everybody was saying it's the championship hangover, that they never really shook themselves out of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I go back to that game, and I know it was the World Series, but Game 7 kind of changed people's opinion towards Joe Madden.
But
even
why?
Though they ended up winning the World Series.
Why though? What did he do? What did he do to deserve?
They thought he almost cost them the game, leaving Chapman out there.
Why not leave Chapman out there? We know
the philosophy behind it, but if you were watching that game, your booty hole was tight. You feel me? He was like, "Oh shit!"
But I think he was like, I feel like he was. I agree with you, Terrence, because I feel like he was wilding with his Chapman usage all playoffs, and it's kind of like he kept touching the stove, hoping he didn't get burned, and he almost got his hand burned off in Game 7. Like, I don't know if it was Rajay Davis hit the home run off him, right?
Right.
After that, and anybody who knows me, like I can't stand the Cubs. I felt bad for the Cubs when that home run. I was like, okay. I was like, look, this is too much pain for any fan. Like, even I was like, okay, timeout. Like, this has got to stop.
Right.
I swear.
But I don't necessarily think, me personally, I told T the last time we talked about this, Aroldis Chapman wasn't coming back in 2017. So use every piece of his arm that he got. That's what they spent $20 million on him for.
That's true.
Like, throw him in for 9 outs in Game 2. Throw him in for 7 outs in Game 5. Throw him till his arm is about to fall off. I felt like the Cubs breaking that 108-year streak, that was going to happen regardless. It was going to come down. Rajay Davis was going to hit a home run off of whoever threw him that pitch.
But see, now I feel like if you talk to the average Cubs fan, because I don't think you're the average Cubs fan. When Rajay Davis hit that home run, Cubs fans thought this was the beginning of the end. This is like, you mean to tell me this is how I get my heart ripped out of my chest this time?
Fam, we were sitting in right field, bro, up top right outside the press box. Me and you, we said the same shit. Like, nah, I know this ain't about to end like that.
That's Scott G. I watched that ball sail out of the park, and in slow motion, bro. I'm sitting there thinking, like, hold on. That means it's tied, right? Oh, shit. It was crazy.
It's like, of course, this one completely different, obviously, but it's like when Rex Grossman threw that pick in Super Bowl 41 with like 4 dudes on Musa Muhammad, and I felt like I got shot in my chest, and like I ain't recovered from the interceptions. I was like, yeah, the Cubs fans shouldn't have to go through this again. You know what I'm saying? That's how I felt when I saw that home run.
Now, hey,
they won it, man. They won it, bro.
They won it. That's all that matters. Because I was about to ask, it's almost like they sold their soul for that one.
But you win, and this is the debate me and Shaun have all the time.
And we definitely gonna get into it with the White Sox.
Yeah, we had this debate all the time. Okay. Me and him had this debate about the longer run. I'm like, this is sports. If you have an opportunity to win it, you get it now. I'm not worried about 5-6 years from now. If the White Sox can win a World Series, whatever they do after that, it's whatever. I just need one. Like, I think I saw something on Twitter. It had like different pills. Like, would you take the Mahomes pill or Bears winning 06? Give me the Bears 06. Right. I'm not giving the Bears a chance to mess up Mahomes. I'm taking that championship every time.
And see, my counter to that, and we'll get deeper into it as we go first to third in our next segment, and we start talking about the White Sox. My counter to that, Scott, is, look, I've got the one, right? I've seen the championship. So now, like, you can say it's greedy, but I look at the Cubs and I feel like they had the same situation. And I ask myself, and Gino, you can jump in, like, man, when you look at Gleyber Torres over there, it's like, man, did you have to go get Chapman? Was there somebody else you could have gotten without giving up your farm system? Did you have to go get Jose Quintana and just gift Eloy Jimenez?
Nah, I think that's the one that's gonna stand. Gleyber is whatever.
That Eloy might sting. Yeah. That was a whole nother scenario with Quintana, I feel.
I just feel like they got the one, but even after that, they kind of got outside of themselves and just gave up too much, in my opinion.
Yep.
I think Eloy, Dylan Cease, like those guys could have been the bridge to get them through the transformation.
I mean, we gotta make sure Dylan Cease can throw in the strike zone consistently, right? Before Cubs fans losing sleep on Dylan Cease. But I'm not even thinking about.
They went out. If they have Dylan Cease, do they go out and spend all that money on Chatwood? You know what I'm saying? Everything is a domino effect. And then if you have that money to spend on something else, or you have it in your coffers for the next year. So, what my counter to that is, look. If I think we're going to be good, I don't just want the one. Like, I want to run that's similar to what the Yankees had in the 90s, in the early 2000s. They got that. They had that core 5. I want like 3 in like 8-9 years. If I can get that, that's what I'm shooting for. That's the stars. And if I have to come back down and we only get one, then okay, I'll settle for it. But right now, this day, I'm greedy right now.
This is going to lead into.
We have a core 5. Let's go get 3 in 10 years, and then I'm good.
Now, is this before? Is this after Jerry Reinsdorf? Now, this is something that every time me and Shaun had these talks, I always got to bring the Reinsdorf reality card into it. Like this is, to me, he's the biggest stop from the White Sox becoming a dynasty. And for somebody who claims to care about baseball more than basketball, he don't act like it. He really don't act like it.
SD, this is right on the line of what we was arguing about.
Man, it's the same. Like, look, and I say that, but I do have a check in me that says, your organization, you know your owner. So I understand you shooting for the stars. You want 3 in 10 years. You want what the Yankees had in the late 90s, early 2000s, because you feel like that core.
Yankees had Steinbrenner. He didn't give a damn.
and he was willing to spend.
Exactly.
He was going to go get those veterans. Man, the Yankees won the World Series with Charles Hayes at third base. And don't get me wrong, Charles Hayes was a very good. Gino, don't laugh, man. Charles Hayes, why you tripping? His son is pretty dope with Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Shorty at the third baseman?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. His son is pretty dope. But I'm just saying, they won with Charles Hayes at third base, Jim Lara's DH and playing catcher. So it's like if you can build around that core, they had Robbie, they had Jeter, they had Mariano, they had Bernie, they had Posada, and that core was solid for like a decade.
But I also have to go to like also the development of the players, which is where I feel like White Sox, as White Sox fans, since we know Reinsdorf's not going to spend the money, you need to hit on these guys. They have to be consistently great. Like, like even we named the Yankees, we didn't name like 3 Hall of Famers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We didn't name like Derek Jeter is Derek Jeter. He's the captain. You know, you got Mariano, MAGA Mariano, as I like to call him now. He's the greatest closer ever. Joe Torre was a great manager. So they had all these things that came together. So the White Sox need Tim Anderson. Looks like he's the superstar that we wanted him to be. Jose Abreu is the superstar we want him to be. We need Eloy to continue. We need Luis to continue. We need all these guys to where it's easy to where you just have to add a couple things. You ain't got to worry about them messing up on spending money. And so we've got to 2026, 2027, because I'm not expecting none of these dudes to have a second contract with the White Sox unless, I don't want to, wish death on anybody. But if Jerry's not here, then whatever. But
practically we're good for 2000 through 2025 with 4. So that's that right there, that gives us 4 years, a good 4 to 5 years to make it happen. Because like you said, especially if they win one.
Yeah.
If they
I feel like they can get one, then okay, what can we do now? What can we do to add on it? So this I'm ready to get into this offseason so far. I got a lot of thoughts.
So you mentioned it. I'll segue right into it.
Okay.
You said the Yankees had Joe Torre.
Yes.
Did the White Sox get their Joe Torre when they hired Tony La Russa?
Absolutely not. See, like, this is my thing with Tony La Russa, man. I think Tony La Russa maybe is the greatest manager in baseball history, at least in the modern era, if we're just going off the stats. But this is like Phil Jackson coming out of retirement to coach the Clippers. Like, no, he's all, and I don't even care that he's racist. I don't even care that he got mad DUIs. That ain't got nothing to do with me. It's baseball. I just assume off the rip all these dudes are racist. It's the fact is he gonna be asleep for half of these games. That's what I'm worried about. When you got somebody like everybody's like, oh well, Hinch cheated. Okay, we got to lay down the list of morality issues that La Russa got. If we gonna go to
Thank
that,
you.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like you hired a saint. So that's the problem.
Give me the cheater, fam.
Yeah, that's the problem I had. And it's just like, I think the most irritating thing about the White Sox is it's like they do something great and then they don't. I'm excited about Lance Lynn 48 hours ago. Then they bring Adam Eaton back. And it's like, you just killed my excitement in 12 hours. Like, how is that possible that you do it that quick? So, and then they feed you little stuff in the media. Oh, they're talking about Michael Brantley. I believe it when I see it. So I don't want the White Sox to get, oh, well, we got next year. We got this year. I don't want y'all to be thinking about 5 this year. Worry about this season. Put all your chips on the table for this season. Because as much as fun as last season was, it was 60 games. And they had a terrible end to the season. Absolutely. Like, they jagged. There's no reason why they shouldn't be putting up an AL Central banner in a couple months. They jagged that. So they need to prove it over 4-1-62. So you need to get as many veterans as on to get as much depth because there's going to be injuries. And that's just pretty much what I want to see from. And I feel like Rick Hahn is kind of a GM that I don't believe is fully his vision anymore. And that's what kind of, makes me upset as a White Sox fan. I feel like Jerry's like, well, this is what we spending, and this is all we spending. Deal with it. So, Hahn better than me. I probably would have quit after they hired La Russa. That'd have been like the last straw for me. I'd have been like, all right, I'm out because there's no reason for this.
So you like the Lance Lynn deal though?
I love it. I like Dane Dunning. I feel like this thing about White Sox fans, you got to understand, they're always miserable. There's miserable, and the White Sox fans go hand in hand. I like Dane Dunning, but he had 3 good starts, and I think he'll eventually be a good pitcher. When you got this window, you got to get a guy like Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn is an innings eater. I think he's a good number 3 in the rotation. He's gonna take some of the stress off the bullpen. The bullpen in those starts that wasn't Gio or Dallas were coming in the 4th, 5th inning. So you need to get some stress off these young guys. I think he's gonna help with that. And there was a lot of people complaining about they gave up too much for him. They should have got him at the deadline. The cost for him at the deadline was higher.
Much higher. Yeah.
You would have to give up Kopech. They were talking about Andrew Vaughn to get him. So the fact you only had to give up Dunning, I love it. But they can't just stop there. That's why I'm holding judgment until the whole offseason is over before I give them a grade. So far, it's cool. You know, I just want them to continue to do more.
Man, before you guys respond, Gino and T, Lance Lynn's story came out. His agent actually leaked some information around the trade deadline to stop him from being traded to teams that he didn't want to go to. And then he told the Rangers, if you trade me to a team that's a non-contender, I'm going to opt out for medical reasons.
Wow.
So when he did that, that just killed the value that he had on the trade market. Teams knew it. They couldn't get anything back. So like right now, what they got, Dunning and another prospect, was probably the best that they could get. And this was a day after Chris Young was introduced as a new GM.
Yep.
You know, so it's like people are questioning, was the deal done before he even got the job? Or did he just come in the door like, man, I'm getting rid of Lance Lynn and
push the button,
found out what had transpired? So just an interesting thing to throw there about Lance Lynn and how he eventually ended up with the White Sox. So for you guys, man, La Russa, you know, what were your first?
Shaun, man, I feel like I ever since we had our conversation, man, I've taken kind of a slower approach to how I feel about what goes on to the White Sox, because I feel like it's the same thing that we talked about. No matter how good the White Sox or what way the White Sox turn, the organization is going to give you a reason or make you have to work harder to root for this team, you know. And that's exactly what happened with Tony La Russa, bro. You know what I mean? You see this team take the steps forward. They get into the playoffs, and although they should have advanced, they didn't advance. Guys like Tim Anderson and Lucas Giolito made you excited about the future. You know that Ricky is probably on his way out. So then you get so now you allow yourself to get excited about the possible replacements. Okay, you're like AJ Hinch. You see how good it could possibly be, and then here come the White Sox dropping Tony La Russa on this team, bro. And although I don't want to say I'm mad, I'm still completely confused. You know, it still just feels like the ultimate betrayal to some of these young players, man. Like now, every time Tim Anderson tweets something, I'm thinking it's a subliminal shot at the Tony La Russa decision. You know, so now I'm wondering, can this clubhouse stay together? I'm asking myself questions that I didn't think I was going to be asking myself going into this next season. It's like, okay, how together is this clubhouse? Okay,
I got a rebuttal for that though. I want to hear your opinion on this too. That was one of my problems too about the clubhouse. But I do think this is a clubhouse that's like self-governed. And the reason I say that is, I don't know if y'all read the Athletic article about them reaching out to the leaders of the team about Adam Meaton, and all of them were like, cool. I think it's a self-governed locker room with Abreu, with TA, with Gio and Dallas. They're kind of like, yo, if anything, La Russa's gonna have to adjust to them. I feel. I don't think it's gonna be
said that.
I don't
said that.
Exactly,
I don't think it's gonna be anything where they're gonna have to adjust to La Russa. It's gonna be like, yo, these are the rules, and if not, I feel like they might go to management like, yo, we have a united front, and this is the issues we have. So I don't really think that's gonna be that big of a problem like I originally thought it was when they hired him.
Exactly, man. And like you said, Shaun, I listened to that Lance Lynn interview. I think he did it with Dan Bernstein or something. But man, I feel like I was uneasy until I heard Lance Lynn speak about not only who Tony La Russa is as a manager, and from his perspective, him being a younger cat in terms of players Tony La Russa has managed, you know, but what he said about how the game has changed from players thinking that all the extra stuff is disrespectful to it being just a form of these players expressing themselves and being individuals. I feel like that was he's a huge acquisition for this team. You know how some acquisitions are big, but in terms of this team, it's even bigger than I gave it credit for when I first heard it, because I was excited, to get, when I heard that Lance Lynn was on his way to the White Sox. I'm like, cool, that instantly solves probably their biggest question. We were wondering who was going to be that third starter. All right, and yes, and like you said, Scott, I was a Dane Dunning fan. I was excited for his future, but the truth is, you just don't know if he's really going to be that guy you think he could be.
Yep.
I mean, so it was only right, if you felt you can get a guy like Lance Lynn, I felt that was a no-brainer.
You know what, man? A lot of people, when you think about Adam Eaton, and I really want Gino, because you've been in a championship locker room and you've seen the ups and downs, and I want to compare this. Maybe it's comparable, maybe it's not, to what took place with Adam. Because looking back, most people look at him now, call him a jerk, a-hole, all certain types of names. And you think about Adam Eaton, you think about that same type of guy. He's a jerk, right? You've heard stories about him getting up from autograph signing sessions with a line full of kids, and he says to the White Sox rep, "That's 25, right? I met my quota." And he just gets up and walks away, right? He comes on ESPN 1000 with Carmen and Yurko. They ask him a question about how Tony La Russa is going to connect with the young players. Will it be a problem? This is the second question of the interview. He ends the interview and hangs up and says, "I gave you guys 2 minutes." Like this.
That actually happened, bro.
That happened. Same day he got signed.
Same day he got signed. So I mean, that's who they're getting. So I understand, like, yo, you call the guys and they're like, okay, we're cool with it. Maybe feel like they can integrate him. I think the only two people on the roster that have experience with him are TA and Jose, right? T-Tom?
Yeah, man, and they both wanted to steal off of him. Come
right.
on.
They both had bad experiences with him. So is that similar to what the Cubs went through with Addison Russell?
I'm not sure if it's comparable, because I feel like all of those guys loved Addison Russell. I think Addison, he was like the spirit, not maybe the spirit, but one of the spirits of, like, if you see the clubhouse, I mean, he was a guy who was to himself a lot of the time, but you could see when he was on the field how much respect and how much the guys looked up to him to be that person for them up the middle, because we all know baseball games are won up the middle of the diamond.
Right.
So I think I wouldn't say it's necessarily comparable, but man, as far as the Adam Eaton thing is concerned, I mean, I understand that. I mean, even Ozzie, remember Ozzie said, man, nobody in the locker room likes you, bro. So,
right.
I mean, I just want to know, is that it? Because like Scott said, like that can't be it, because also bringing a guy like Lance Lynn in, you're winning now. You're trying to win now. And going back to the Cubs thing, it's like, yeah, you take the one. There's still 3, 4, 5 MLB teams that have never won a World Series.
Right.
So you can chop that off. You can knock that off of knock that off the helm. But yeah, I just think now is the time, because it's now or never. Like, they got the talent. We saw what they could do. Like we all said, it was only 60 games. We would have loved to see a full season. But I think those guys 1 through 9 are as talented as they come. And yeah, you can't be looking 4 and 5 years down the line. You got to get this thing done right now. So I think with the hiring of Tony La Russa, me and T, I try to tell him, man, this is all makeup for Jerry Reinsdorf when he fired Tony La Russa back in '87.
It's like the girl that you got rid of. I guess the girl you wasn't with at first, you got rid of her, and you see her like bossing up. You like, all right,
right.
She got a couple kids now, but I'm at least try.
But I'm at least try out. She's still raw.
She's still decent.
Right.
Yeah. And
it's different if because she would have to be like 75 years old. It's
right.
No.
But also, I think Tony La Russa is in the mob. He got mob ties, so he
would not be shocked.
Jerry looked out for his boy, but to not even play devil's advocate, I'm thinking maybe Tony La Russa is the guy that those guys need, because I feel like at the end of the season, like CEO said, they jagged. They literally jagged the season, and we saw Eloy out there.
You talking about the end of the regular season?
The end of the regular season and the playoffs.
They jagged game 3.
That's what I'm saying. They should have beat the A's.
Yeah.
So I feel like Tony La Russa, maybe Jerry Reinsdorf feels like what Tony La Russa brings to this team, manager-wise. Him being a racist and all that other shit, okay, I understand that. But his baseball acumen, I mean, his track record speaks for itself. And maybe some of the old school knowledge. I mean, we know the game has changed. We know the locker rooms and clubhouses are different. Most of these teams, you know, the Bruce Bochy's and the Lou Pinellas and those guys are gone. And you got guys like Joe Madden and younger guys now. A lot of these managers are young, so they can relate to the players more. But I feel like when you got young players like Tim, Eloy, Luis, and all these other guys who probably need a swift kick in the ass, maybe Tony La Russa can provide that. And maybe they can kind of find a middle ground and blend with each other and it work out for the best. That's what I'm thinking.
And
Gino,
me and Shaun,
what did I say all year?
Yeah. Me and Shaun, I think there was multiple times where like Luis would do something, and I'm like, I'd have pulled his ass out the game.
Yeah.
Like, so there might be times they need accountability. I don't need a team to have fun, win damn games. I don't care if y'all the most miserable team on planet Earth. Like, I always kind of feel like liking each other in sports is very overrated. Kobe and Shaq fought and they three-peated. You know, like, you don't have to like each other. Deion Sanders, Jerry Rice couldn't stand each other. So I just need them to just win games. And if it's anything, we know the White Sox going to be. I wish there was a baseball Hard Knocks, because the White Sox would be the team that I would want to see on that show. Because you got so many storylines that they're going to be on national TV more. They even have the first Sunday night baseball game of the season. So they're going to be a story. And it's just, okay, there's expectations now. What you did, I'm not, the days of me saying, okay, well, they tried. Them days are over. We're back to throwing remote days over here in my house. So I need them to win. So the expectations are on. And if Tony La Russa's that guy, he's that guy. I just, and I think Gino even said, time to win now. The man almost 80. We don't even know if he's going to be the manager next year. So it's even more pressure. If I'm Rick Hahn, I'd have told Jerry, okay, look, if we hire your boy, give me an open checkbook. You know what I'm saying? And this is your man's. If you want him to win, give him as many weapons as possible.
Right.
So that's why I want to see, like, if Adam Eaton is your everyday left fielder,
he's not
right fielder.
He's
not.
not.
Lose it.
He can't be for the same reason you guys are saying, because it's time to win now.
Yeah, and if that was the case, you could have just started Adam Engel. He had a better year than he did.
I mean, you still have Lurie under contract.
Exactly. Exactly. So there has to be that. You have to get you a Brantley. You have to get you a Peterson. Or you go trade for one. That can't be it. So I'm gonna wait. I know this is a off season that baseball off season already run notoriously slow. But when you're in a pandemic, you got teams that don't want to spend anything. I don't think we're gonna know the full roster of this team to maybe around MLK Day. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna move super slow. So I'm gonna wait. But that better not be it. As a White Sox fan, you're not gonna sell me Adam Eaton as your everyday right fielder.
And man, what did I tell you all year? I'm watching games, and Scott would tell me to calm down, because before the season, Scott asked me, man, how many games you think they're going to win? I said 35. He said, you crazy. I said, no, I'm telling you, the division sucks. Like this, I'm like, they're going to kill Detroit. They're going to kill Kansas City. And if they can break 500 with Minnesota and Cleveland, they're going to win 35 games. And they ended up winning 35. I'm like, they have enough talent to do that. I expected them to blow some games because of their youth. I expected that. I didn't expect Ricky to be as bad as he was down the stretch.
Oh, he was terrible. He was terrible.
I didn't expect that.
I feel bad for my boy Ricky, man.
Look, the most shocking thing for me is to hear Steve Stone come on radio the day after Ricky Renteria was fired and say maybe they will finally work on fundamentals when they practice. And I said, what? I'm like, wait a minute. Are you saying that Ricky Renteria didn't go over fundamentals? And it took me back to the last 3 weeks of the season where I saw 3 failed rundowns, bro. 3 failed rundowns. You learn rundowns in Little League, like the level before Little League.
And even how many games were blown off the fact that Ricky didn't know how to manage his bullpen. If there's one thing I'm not worried about Tony La Russa is managing a bullpen. He's gonna know.
Well, as long as he knows who's in the bullpen.
Right, it's like, as long as he know who's in the bullpen, we should be fine. It's like Ricky went there was like, all right, let me randomly pick somebody today.
Right.
Well, often than not, he was wrong. He picked the wrong guy,
Runners on second and third. Let me put Carlos Ruiz in.
Right.
Like, well,
how many times did he put Cishek in when he should have forgot about him?
He should have been waived. Cishek should have been waived.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw Luis Robert in the exhibition game go to one knee and take him, I'm like, nah, there's no way you make this roster. No way you make this roster. So free agency, they pick up Lance Lynn. They get Adam Eaton. They're in on Michael Brantley. He's probably looking for a 2-year deal. White Sox might want to give him 1 year for around 10 to 12 million. And then they're in on Liam Hendricks, the closer for the A's as well. That was reported by Bob Nightingale.
Which means that we're probably going to, because if Nightingale's saying it, it's coming from Kenny and Jerry.
Liam Hendricks, he was really good 2 years ago, struggled in a truncated season. So small sample size. He might come back to form next year if you get him. But I wouldn't be mad if they brought Colomé back.
Exactly.
This my thing about Colomé. This my thing about Colomé, man. I like Colomé. Would I consider him a lockdown? This is, to me, stats lie a little bit. Because he always makes it interesting. I don't want to be, having a drink every time he come in the game. Like, so if we can get Liam Hendricks, I'm 100% down for it. Because Colomé makes it too close. And I think the hardest 3 outs in the game to get, I don't care what analytics say, are the last 3 outs. You know what I'm saying? And Ricky would stretch it and try to get 4-5 outs from him. Like,
and see, Scott, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah, a lot of the times where Colomé made it close, he was being mismanaged, but by Ricky getting stretched out, and and that, I think that added to some of his issues. Even though he, like you said, I would still love if it ends up being him, then I'm not mad.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it, but if Hendricks is there, go get Hendricks.
Man, I want another veteran. I want maybe 1 or 2 veteran arms in that bullpen. Like, look, I was out the bullpen. They did a fantastic job. They overachieved. You possibly have Garrett Crochet going into the 8th inning, 9th inning. If you have Hendricks or you have Colomé, the 8th and 9th are pretty good. The young guys should be able to fill the 6th and 7th. I'm worried about this catcher situation, especially.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to touch on that. I wanted to touch on that.
Signs with the Angels, like it looks like he's going to in the next couple of days,
which makes me worried about Lucas.
And there's 2 things on that.
Yeah, bro.
One thing, the Angels front office need to be arrested for malpractice because they keep ignoring that they don't have pitching. Y'all can score, get pitches. I don't even understand why they in James McCann. But they cannot expect Zach Collins or some other random dude to be Yasmani's everyday backup. That, to me, is terrible. Like, go get you a vet who can become, because Zach Collins is trash. I'm sorry, I'm out of the Zach Collins. He can be good. I'm fully off Zach. The boy is doo-doo. Like, so we just need to let go of that drink. He can't be your everyday backup catcher, man. So they need to address that. So as a White Sox fan, I just hope that Rick Hahn ain't home playing video games. I hope he's, working.
Like, I'm all for moving Ronaldo. I'm all for moving Cease. Like,
yes.
If that's gonna get you that catcher, they're not about to go out and get JT Realmuto.
Oh, of course not.
They're not spending money on that. Heck, I know I'm gonna be honest, Gino. I love Caratini, bro.
Caratini's a good backup catcher.
I love Caratini.
Yeah.
Well, that's why there's talk about Wilson Contreras on the market, because you can get a return on that. And they love Victor Caratini, and they love the guy in AAA, Miguel Amaya.
Yeah.
I really like Victor Caratini. I think where he falls is when he doesn't, he'll have a hot 4 or 5 games and then he doesn't play for 2 games. So I think if he could find a home elsewhere, I'm with that. But yeah, I definitely love Victor Caratini, man.
Man, if the Cubs actually move Wilson and KB, they probably could get a nice little return
Yeah.
for those two guys. I think, matter of fact, just broke last couple of days that Boston might be interested in KB. And I know that farm system is pretty good. So that should be pretty dope. Now let's talk about the future of this team, man. We touched on it just a little bit. What's your expectations? Scott?
For the White Sox?
For this core, yes.
For upcoming season or just in general?
No, just in general.
I think my expectations they need to, first of all, I'm not worried about winning the division. I think the division is going to be very winnable for the foreseeable future.
Minnesota step back because Nelly Cruz and Rosario.
This is my thing about Minnesota. People need to stop bringing up Minnesota, man. Bringing up Minnesota is like bringing up the Portland Trailblazers every year. Like, okay, they're cool, but when it comes to playoff time, whatever.
You know where they're gonna be in a few days.
Yeah, like they were out of the playoffs in like a day.
I feel like that's a slight diss to Dame Dollar, Scott.
I love Dame. Dame is probably top 5 player of mine.
Okay,
but he ain't winning no championship on Portland. It just is what it is.
I can roll.
So that to me is they can win a division, but you got to look long term. How you competing with the Yankees? You know what I'm saying? How are you competing with even the Rays or these teams that are going to be there in your way to get to the World Series? You should only be thinking about the World Series. Detroit ain't gonna be nowhere no time soon. Kansas City, none of them. Don't worry about them. What can you do? So I'm really trying to see the development. If our young core, and mainly just the pitching, because I'm not worried about us scoring runs at all. That's not a problem of mine. I want to be more consistent with runners on base. I feel like they left too many on base all season, especially in Game 3. Like the pitching, the bullpen problems we had in Game 3 were huge, but we left like 12 people on base. To me, that was just as big or even bigger problem, the reason that we lost Game 3. So that needs to be worked on. But if all these guys can reach their potential or somewhat be in that, I think they're going to be in the conversation for the next couple of years. And to me, that will make your job easier if you're Rick Hahn, because you don't have to worry about major holes. You just got to, plug in. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like what the Lakers did this year. Lakers got LeBron and AD. So all you got to do, get you a Wesley Matthews, get you a Dennis Schroeder. You can just do that with these teams. But for this coming season, if let's just say they didn't add anybody else, let's just say we got the roster right now, I would say they probably could win 90, 92 games. I picked them to win the division. And then after that, it's okay. I don't know if we can. It kind of depends on what are the Yankees doing. Who are they going to get? So you need to make this team as stacked as possible. Depth is going to be huge. You're going to get injuries. And get as many arms as possible. That's anything we've been seeing in the playoffs over the last couple of years. The days of your starters going into the 7th inning and the playoffs are done. So get as many arms as possible. And if they can do that, I think we're going to be at least in the conversation for the next 3 to 5 years.
No, I echo every single one of your sentiments, Scott. As long as that window is wide open, which I think it is right now, then the White Sox have to do everything in their purview to make sure it stays open. Depth, that pitching staff, even though I really like it right now, you look at Kopech getting ready to join the mix, and just from talking to him, I think fans are going to be pleasantly surprised with the type of athlete that he is. I mean, you could possibly be talking about a number one when it comes to Michael Kopech. And I think they still have players to bring up. That are going to add to this mix. So although I'm thinking World Series over the next 4 or 5 years for sure, I still view this as a team that's completely still developing, still putting pieces together. But like you guys, I feel like it's safe to say right now, if these guys don't get at least one over the next 5 years, then something went wrong.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I already told you what my expectations are. I'm shooting for the moon. I'm trying to have this core do the same thing that Yankees core did. And if I can get 3, I'm cool. I'll settle on. I'm cool with that. But like you said, you touched on it. I don't, similar to dissimilar from what the Cubs did, I'm not looking to move Vaughn, and I'm not looking to move Kopech. Like, no. Like Kopech, let that dude develop. I saw enough from the 3 starts. Now it's about being healthy. Like, stick him at number 4. He doesn't have to be the guy. So that's cool. You can ease him back in. He can be a number 4. He can be a number 5. And Vaughn, we don't know how much longer Jose has, man. We just don't. Honestly, we hope that he can get another 2 or 3 years, but literally, Gino, you play the game, man. You wake up, these players, they get over 40 or get close to 50, and they wake up one day, they don't see the ball the same way. Their hands don't move as fast. So you just don't know. And if that happens to Jose in the next 2 years, it would be sweet to just move Andrew Vaughn right into that spot and keep it moving and not have to give up prospects or overspend. I mean, Jerry's not going to do anything anyway, but you just keep moving and keep the core moving. So let's go ahead and end it, man. I'm about to play a little game with you guys, man. Let's see how.
Well, I just want to say one thing before we get to that. I think Kopech is the X factor because I think he's going to be a beast. And the reason why I'm skeptical about trading him or Vaughn is the same reason. Jerry's not going to spend money, so you can't be giving up your assets if your owner's not going to spend money. So you need to give them. They need to be what they're going to be. If Kopech can be the guy that I think he's going to be, then that makes the Lance Lynn deal look even better. Right. Because now you got 4, and then you just got Cease at the 5. And I think Cease can at least be a 5 if he doesn't even get any better. And then to me, you got a crazy 4-man rotation.
Man, that's what I mean. Ethan Katz, the hiring is so dope. And I was inspired to hear him say, man, I want to work with all of these guys. Like, don't move anybody. I want to work with these young arms because that just gives us more assets. Now we have more assets to go out, and we don't have to come off Kopech, and we don't have to move on. So it should be dope. Let's play this game as we get ready to close out. I appreciate you guys for joining me on the podcast today. This is called the step off, right? So I'm going to throw out a topic or a question. If you agree with it, just say I'm a step off. If you don't like it, just call balk. Like, hey, hold on, I disagree. That's a balk, and get to the point why you disagree.
So if you say, hold on, say that. If I agree, I say what?
If you agree, you just step off.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? If you disagree, call a balk.
Okay,
and I'll let you go ahead and give the reason why.
Gotcha.
All right. The 2020 Toronto Blue Jays will be this year's version of the 2019 the 2020-21 Blue Jays will be the 2020 version of the Chicago White Sox.
Balk.
You balk?
Yeah, I'm balking. Yeah.
I'm balking on that one as well.
All right. Gino?
I mean, I like the young talent, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have to balk on that one as well. But you never know. Back to before we even started, I just want to say I've learned to not have no expectations for none of these teams, man. So I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, so you all are balking at Toronto?
Yeah, I like Toronto. They got nice little young talent, but they're in a division with the Yankees and with the. I'm not expecting the Rays to go anywhere, so they'd have to take a massive leap. And I think the only thing that really, if the Yankees didn't have all the injuries, I think they probably would. In a regular season, I think they'd cruise control with that division. In my personal opinion, I still think the Yankees are the kings of the hill in that division. I think it's going to stop them from, and they still got a lot of stuff they got to do consistently for me to put them into where the White Sox did last year.
The Tampa Bay Rays will once again win the National League East.
The American League East.
The American League East. My fault. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm balking on that one, man. I'm looking for who we got out there. Who was it? Boston, the Yankees, Tampa Bay, and who else?
It was Boston, the Yankees, Tampa Bay.
And who else?
Blue Jays in that division. And the Orioles.
And the Orioles.
Trash Orioles.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the Yankees to go ahead and take that. I'm balking on that one, man.
Even if they lose DJ?
Yeah, they could. DJ is a great player, but they'll find somebody to plug that in.
Yeah, I'm gonna balk on that. I'm Yankees, man. Yankees to me, Yankees gonna win that. And the full 162, I'm rolling with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Now me as well. I'm catching the end of it, but definitely I'm going with that one.
Let's bring it back to the National League, man. Christian Yelich will get back to his NL MVP form in 2021.
I agree. I'll step off on that. I agree.
Yeah, I'll step off with that one. But does that mean he's winning NL MVP?
No, just get back to his form.
Oh, yeah.
He might not win it, but get back to that form. and be one of the candidates.
Yeah, I'm stepping up.
I'm walking off on that one as well. The 40-game season, what wasn't nice to a few people, but I'm not willing to say that that's a marker on their careers. You know what I mean? And Christian Yelich is definitely one of the guys I feel gets back to it.
And I want to leave you guys with this. We kind of started off with it. Major League Baseball is much better than it was 10 years ago in the black community.
Yeah, I'm balking, man. I'm out of here on that one.
Yeah.
That's a big balk, fam.
I'm balking. Yeah, I bought for the
balk.
simple. I bought for the simple fact that
yo, that's the balk and the run scores from third.
exactly
Okay.
right. Exactly. Run definitely scoring that because even meeting black people who watch baseball, it's like maybe 80 odd I know personally. It's like we got like a secret society. You know,
Right.
it's not a lot of us. So like even if our people were getting crazy, I was watching the World Series over the NBA Finals and people looking at me like I had lost my mind. So I'm definitely balking on that.
Yo, it's dope because before you guys get to it, Dominique Smith, former player with the Phillies, man, he has a great initiative going on right now. He's from Florida, and he's saying they've already done a great job of trying to integrate baseball back into the communities with programs and building fields. But he said he's committed to the East Coast and that area up there in the Northeast because it's really lacking, and they really haven't invested in the inner city in those areas like they have down south.
Right.
You know, we know, Gino, we know people that played in the major leagues that have programs that were here in Chicago and they've gone and moved down south to Texas to improve things for their children to give them a better opportunity in the game of baseball. So it's still needed here, even in Chicago, because as I said before, you can argue that in every era of Major League Baseball, post Jackie Robinson, that there was an African American player or a Latino player that was the best player in that era. You can definitely argue that. So we are, as a culture, and at the center of the game, regardless of how they want to run it. When you look at baseball, and even today, I said I think Mookie Betts is the best player in baseball today. I mean, Arenado is right there. I won't argue and debate if someone chooses Arenado. If somebody had said Christian Yelich before this,
I mean, you got to include Trout too, even though Trout,
absolutely.
I think Stu Gatz from Levitar got the best quote ever about Mike Trout. He said, Mike Trout could be sitting on my lap and I wouldn't know that's Mike Trout. So that's like the biggest indictment on him is he looks like every dude in Orange County. Like I could be walking outside of Angel Stadium and I wouldn't know it's Mike Trout. And I watch Mad Baseball.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know if I seen him walking down the street.
That 400 talking though.
Yeah.
I think one of the dopest things I saw, man, is Ken Griffey Jr. was doing an interview with Shannon Sharp on his club Shay Shay, and he asked Ken Griffey Jr. for his top 5 players all time.
And they was all black.
Yes,
all of them.
Yo,
Willie, come on.
You asked me my top 5, they all black. Shit.
Mark Burley got a spot in mind, but other than that, exactly. Frank Thomas, Ken Griffey.
Top 5, Gino.
Shit. However you want to do it. Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr., Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, Andre Dawson.
Man.
My top 5 is more just like more maybe players that I like more than the actual skill. My favorite player of all time is hands down Frank Thomas. I mean, if it wasn't for the big hurt, I wouldn't care about baseball. Like, the first baseball game I ever went to, I saw him, hit a home run. I've been a fan ever since. Number 2, very close number 2, Ken Griffey Jr. He was the reason I wore my hat backwards as a kid. I love Junior. Number 3 will probably have to be Paul Konerko is my guy. Like, I feel like he's like, he's the South Side captain. Jeter is my man. Love Derek Jeter. Yeah. And then number 5, I gotta give it to Barry. Barry the GOAT to me. Barry is a GOAT. They need to put him in the Hall of Fame. He had like 3 MVPs and 8 Gold Gloves before he had a head the size of Manhattan.
So looking like Mr. Potato Head.
Right. When he was wearing knee pads to be in center field.
Yes, sir.
That's probably my 5.
T-Tom, close us out, man.
And I'm definitely going Frank Thomas at the top of my list. Just a childhood hero, man. Grew up loving watching the Big Hurt. Ken Griffey, Barry Bonds. Then I'm going Mark Burley and Manny Ramirez, man.
Oh, I love Manny, man.
Yeah, that right there. That right there, that's my baseball 5 right there. You know,
That's tough. My top 5, man, without a doubt. Frank is in it. Tony Gwynn is in it. Tony Gwynn was my dude.
Tony Gwynn was a beast.
Like, man, when I was in Little League, that was the left-handed cat. I patted my whole swing after. T. Gwynn.
yeah.
Hey, pardon the body on that one. Tony Gwynn is definitely one of my all-time favorite.
Man, T. Gwynn. And then I'm an old school cat. The connection with my dad and the stories he used to tell me, man, is definitely Hank Aaron, Willie Mays. And then for me, I have to go Ken Griffey.
Yeah.
You know, I love Barry Bonds, but Ken Griffey is like, he was like Kobe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
To me, yo. You know, that he had that impact. Like coming to the game, 19, fresh, kind of like Kobe showed up, swag.
Made it cool.
It cool.
The smoothest swing I've ever seen. Talking about
best swing,
your swing after when you get that rock.
Yeah,
you know, that was Ken Griffey all day.
And he came in just playing out like a legend. Like if you bring up the Kobe comparison, the reason I'm such a Kobe fan is Mike was, of course, being in Chicago, Mike was the guy, when I was a kid. But when I seen Kobe go head to head with Mike, I was only 10 years old. But I was like, nobody go head to head with Mike.
Right.
And then I love Kobe from that moment on. And so Junior was one of them guys. He just came out the gate with it, and you just had he was so different from the norm at the time. And, you know, people were losing their mind, him going with his hat backwards.
Right.
You know, and that to me just show you how cool he was.
Yo, man, thank you guys for joining me. I remember when that cat Griff took Greg Maddux when he was with the Cubs out in the All-Star game. Oppo, I'm talking about a rocket. Oppo and old Jack Murphy Stadium out in San Diego, Gino.
Ooh.
Old Jack Murphy.
Ooh.
Well, you know, going Oppo there was just like,
it's tough.
Man. And I looked in the dugout when he ran up in the dugout, and I just saw all of the talent that was in the dugout. Like, good God.
Crazy, wasn't it?
Baseball back then was bananas. Like, the talent was like crazy. The catcher was Benito Santiago.
Hey, look, man. Look, man. That man was a beast back there.
Baseball needs to do a better job of marketing their talent. I feel like we got a lot of young guys too. There's no reason that Fernando Tatis shouldn't be the hottest thing walking right now. Him and Tim Anderson, Robert Acuna, they have personality with their games, and they need to market those guys.
Yep.
You talk about two of my favorite players today. Those dudes right there. I could watch them play baseball all day.
And I feel like they dropped the ball on Mookie Betts. Like that was the easiest marketing campaign of all time.
League MVP, World Series.
Come on, man.
With the coolest name in sports.
Coolest name. Mookie, he played for the Dodgers too with Mookie.
Even when he was in Boston.
Yeah.
He was down. Like Mookie is like the easiest marketing campaign in the entire world, man.
Is he with Nike? Mookie with Nike, right?
That's a good
I think he's with Jordan.
He's with Jordan. Why isn't there a rebrand on the Spike Lee commercial? Mookie from, Do the Right Thing, Mookie Betts. Do that. Why wasn't he in the Drake last video with all the Nike stars?
Come on, man.
But they had no baseball player. He should have been in there.
There you go. So, man, first edition on Mini Mike's Podcast Network, the Call Third podcast right here with my guys, man. We got Scott Lewis, my boy Eugene McIntosh, and my boy Terrence. Y'all already know your family, man. I appreciate you guys so much, man. We have to do this again.
Yes, sir.
Stay tuned, man. It'll probably be a while before we come back with another episode of the Call Third. Probably be right before spring training, after all the moves have been made, and we'll start to forecast the season and talk about the 162 that leads us on the south side to a World Series championship. And hopefully we're facing off against David Ross and the guys. And we can make it, and everything is open back up. We're all healthy. We can come back out to the games and we can celebrate a Chicago World Series, man. I still need to see that. I still need that in my future, man. So for my guys, we bid you adieu. And as always, man, the best is what yet to come. Blessings to everyone out there. Appreciate you watching the Call Third podcast.
Appreciate you, SD.
Peace.